and let us all do we can to build a better future.
So John Fetterman, remember him? He was supposed to be the next Bernie Sanders, that guy. Yeah, well, turns out John Fetterman, was recently on CNN, and he was asked if he believes anything Israel's done during the Israel-Hamas war amounts to a war crime. His answer is, of course not. Now, we have said on this show numerous times that a lot of these Democratic politicians, they're not doing their party any favors because they're losing voters. And there's been plenty of anti-war protesters interrupting Democratic events, calling out these Democratic politicians, and people like Fetterman still remain indifferent. Now, he's saying that there are no war crimes, but with 20,000 plus dead civilians, the evidence is there. The bombings impacted countless lives, and yet Fetterman says, no, of course not, because he doesn't care. Dr. Oz, how bad of a candidate were you that you lost to this guy? I mean, I'm being serious here. How bad were you that you lost to this guy? I can't take you seriously anytime I see you on a video anymore either. So let's pull up this video here. Shout out to Case Study QB, who's wrongly being censored. Yes, we got to watch this. It's Fetterman. Let's hear his explanation.
But there are some real questions about what's happening on the ground in Gaza, about the really extraordinary civilian death toll that has happened as a result of this war. Do you believe that anything that Israel has done in these 6 weeks of fighting has amounted to a war crime?
Of course not. Of course not. And it's like, let's not forget what Hamas started. They broke the first ceasefire, and then they attacked Israel and murdered over 1,200 innocent women, children, babies, everything, and brutalized it in the most unspeakable kinds of ways. And so that really is the ultimate, criminal war kinds of. This is.
You're struggling with that sentence here again? Hold on, folks. He's struggling. Let's listen to that explanation one more time. By the way, he's not going to mention the 20,000 dead civilians and how hospitals and refugee centers and schools and residential buildings were destroyed and targeted.
Ways. And so that really is the ultimate, criminal war kinds of. This is absolutely an unequivocal attack to destroy Israel. And we must remember that that's how started all of this.
But are you comfortable, Senator, with the number of Palestinians who have lost their lives? 7,000 children, 15 or 16,000 civilians dead. Do you believe Israel is doing enough to minimize civilian casualties?
No, one death is too many. It's a tragic. I don't value any Palestinian child life any more than or any less than my own child as well.
This guy can't put together a sentence. This man should not be in office. And look, maybe I'm a little bit old fashioned, but I don't want my politicians to be looking like they're just, coming back from the bar. Would it cause such a massive disruption for him to kind of put a suit on, to look appropriate, to fit the profile of being an elected official? I mean, come on. This does not show confidence to me. This shows someone who's indifferent and will show up to their job looking like a bum. If it doesn't work in the real world, these politicians should not be shielded from it either. Just that's just me. It's a little bit annoying.
Well, too, it's heartbreaking and it's awful. But I do fundamentally believe that Israel must destroy Hamas to achieve changing conditions that allow for priests to prosper.
I know he said peace to prosper, but he said priest to prosper. And hold on, I'm just listen to that one more time. All right, this man is not mentally fit for office, just like how Joe Biden is.
Destroy Hamas to achieve changing conditions that allow for priests to prosper.
All right. So it's come to this. All right, great. Preach to prosper. Awesome. You're hitting every nail on the head, aren't you, Johnny boy? But see, I have to wonder, though, how John Fetterman would feel knowing that there are reporters there in Gaza. Take, for example, a CNN producer who lost 9 family members in Gaza from an airstrike. So let's go ahead and play this video here. Because it seems like politicians like Fetterman and everyone else part of the Democratic Party don't care. Don't care about the damages. Don't care about the loss of life. They just say the words. They're like the actors and actresses in Hollywood. They just say lines, they say things, but none of these Democratic or Republican politicians believe in a goddamn thing that they say. They're just paid very well to lie to you and pretend that they care. The only difference is, at least when an actor and actress are pretending to be somebody, you're seeing a movie, you're watching a show. You have the option to turn off said movie or show if you don't like it. With these politicians, we're stuck with them for either 2 years or 4 years. God forbid, if there's no term limits, 8, 12, 20. Goodness gracious. We're never free of these jagoff politicians.
Since the beginning of this war, our producer, Ibrahim Daman, has risked his life doing fearless reporting on the ground in Gaza. After nearly a month, he fled with his immediate family, showing us what it was like to have to do that with 2 small kids in tow. This weekend, he learned that at least 9 of his family members who were in northern Gaza, still trapped there, have been killed, including his uncle and his aunt when an airstrike hit the family's home. His childhood home was also hit in a separate strike. He said that he'll never be able to forget, quote, every stone and corner of the house in which I was born and raised and in which my children were born. We are thinking of Ibrahim and his family tonight as they go through something that unfortunately so many families are also experiencing. This is, we're learning today that Gaza is in what is being called a near total blackout.
Hey, CNN, you going to do anything to help out your guy? Because the way things are going, it's not looking too hot there. I mean, he is part of your network, CNN. I mean, you do have some push, some pull, technically. Should be serve as a warning, never to work for CNN, because they're just like, nothing we could do.
According to the internet monitoring firm, and all telecom services there have been completely cut off. That means Palestinian civilians can't check in each other, they can't call for help, they can't get all of those orders telling them where to evacuate. Joining me now, UNICEF Executive Director Catherine Russell, who just returned, I should note, from Gaza last month. And thank you for being here. It's good to have you again. Given it's so rare to hear from someone who has been on the ground in Gaza, what did you see in southern Gaza where you were?
Well, it was really striking, actually, because I was in Khan Yunis, which now is so much in the news because it's really under assault at this point. But when I was there, that wasn't the case. I was there 2 weeks ago, so there were so many people, just even in the street, teeming with people who had moved from different parts of Gaza and were looking for some refuge. I went to a hospital there, and every place I walked, there were people kind of sleeping in the corridors or sort of camped out in the corridors on blankets, children, adults, everyone. They were just there seeking refuge. And so it was just, I remember feeling kind of overwhelmed by the sheer numbers of people that I saw. And then I also saw just,
So I'll pull up this article here from RT. Gazans running out of safe places, UN official. So Palestinians in Gaza have been left with virtually nowhere to go as the Israeli army continues its offense. Hey, they're continuing on. Fetterman, look at that. In the enclave following the end of a truce with Hamas, a UN official said the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, is shifting its focus to the southern part of Gaza and has urged the population to evacuate. However, Palestinians and human rights groups have condemned the move after the area was initially declared a safe zone when Israel launched retaliatory strikes following the Hamas attack of October 7th. The head of the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees in Gaza, Thomas White, said on Monday that the people are pleading for advice on where to find safety. We have nothing to tell them. That is an ongoing, horrific nightmare.
huge amounts of trash. I mean, I think that all of the sort of typical services have been disrupted. And now, we see in the news every day, that's now a place that's being hit with bombardment. So it's even worse. But what I saw was just really unnerving, really, to see how many people were there and to hear from them about how many of them had moved multiple times, had come from different places, had lost family members, and were there trying to find some peace.
And given that, I mean, that southern Gaza and where you were, Han Yunis, and where they're conducting operations right now, that is where they were told to go by the IDF when this was initially happening. Now they're being told, more targeted areas to leave those areas. A lot of them don't have internet service. I mean, and they're talking about QR codes that are on the leaflets that the IDF is dropping. Are they able to even know where to go and what to do?
No, I don't think so. I mean,
And the thing is, the United States could stop this if they wanted to. Our politicians could stop this, theoretically, in theory. But, oh, wait, money in politics. People want to say that Russia somehow bought our election, right? In 2016, Russia, woogie, boogie, boogie. People tend to forget just how powerful the military-industrial complex, prison-industrial complex, big pharma, big oil, the healthcare insurance industry, all of that, how powerful they are, and outside foreign influence as well, like AIPAC. All our politicians can be bought. All of our politicians can be bought. That's why nothing is being done.
Estimate that 1.8 million people in Gaza, of the 2.2 million people who live there, have been displaced. Okay, so imagine that. They're not home. Electricity, power is very hard to come by. So how do you look at a QR code with what, right? Do you even have, if you have a phone, is it even charged up? How do you do that? I think people, the challenge is that they don't have any security at all. They've been moving, they keep moving, they're afraid, they're living in terror, and they don't know where to go. They don't know where it's safe. And I think, the challenge for the world is to say, we're in a situation where I think of it as kind of like a piece of paper, right? You fold it in half, so move south, fold it in half again, fold it in half again. At some point, there is no place for them to go. There is no safe place, and they know that, and they feel that, and they're terrified.
And are we at that point now?
I think we're close to that. I don't know where first of all of Gaza is not that big. I mean, it's a small place as it is, and there just is so little space, and it's one of the most densely populated parts of the world, and there just isn't any place to go. There isn't any place where people feel safe.
Yeah, I mean, it's the size of Las Vegas, and there are 2 million people there. Yeah. Kathy Russell, thank you for sharing that experience with us. Thank you for being here.
So what can we take away from this? Nothing's being done. There's nowhere safe to go. People are dying, and they don't know where to go. The bombs are still falling, and people don't know where to go. The artillery shells are being fired, and people don't know where to go. I would expect more from our leaders at this point. But the older I get, the more I realize that our politicians, no matter where they stand on the spectrum, don't give a damn. I mean, they'll do thoughts and prayers and say, oh, how sad it is, how terrible it is, what a tragedy it is. It's an absolute nightmare. My goodness, everyone's feeling sad. But these politicians don't care. They have the power to stop it. And this is where we have to come in. What can we do? Currently, right now, there is nothing. We could do protests. We could withhold our vote. The only option I see playing out is we do have to push forward with initiatives, we as citizens together, no matter where we stand, calling to get money out of politics. We have to do a constitutional amendment to do that. And we have to do the arduous fight of making sure every single state here in this country becomes a citizen ballot initiative state, and all of us collectively coming together to call for the abolition and abolishment of political parties. It's going to be a long uphill fight. This is just a suggestion, and I'm pretty sure all of you have good ideas to put in as well. But in order for us to get to a better future, these Democratic and Republican politicians that can be bought are not going to invest their time or energy in trying to create a stable, safe world. It's not in their financial interest to do that. It's all about the dollars. You ever really want to know where your politicians stand on issues or how honorable they are? Just go to Unusual Whales on Twitter. And you'll find out your oh so fantastic House representative, be it Democrat or Republican, or U.S. Senator, Democrat or Republican, and how much money they're making on the side. The list of names will surprise you and just how easily they can be bought. We have to be better. And hopefully history doesn't repeat itself. But I have that fear, that pit in my stomach, that we're going to see a click, copy, paste of this crisis happen again 10 years down the road. And it shouldn't be that way.